I assume you've been informed of your mission.
Somewhere in the deranged world of the Amazing Digital Circus lies the lush, sugar-dusted valleys of the Candy Canyon Kingdom. From its marshmallow-studded mountains to its unending bubblegum landscape, everything seems so perfect. To outsiders, the land looks like heaven for all kids with a sweet tooth. Yet beneath the sugary surface lies dark secrets of shadows and whispers of things most people will never find out about the show.
Did you?
What are you talking about?
Pomni's unexpected arrival at the underground levels of the map might have revealed a bit of these secrets, but it barely scratched the surface of what went on in Candy Canyon. To really understand how bad things were in this gumdrop-covered land, we have to go back to before Pomni and the gang stepped through the portal to Candy Canyon. Caine hyped up the new adventure for his human captives, and we were so invested in seeing what the ringmaster had up his bag of tricks. Unlike the first adventure, where we got stuck with the gloinks, Caine teases a new AI, which he claims is 57 times more immersive. That sounds like regular old Caine teasing the upcoming adventure, but boy were we in for a shock with the horrors that await in the Candy Canyon Kingdom. The show did its best to mask its secrets by displaying the sweet candy scenery filled with colorful mannequin citizens, and Princess Loolilalu was great, but it couldn't keep its secret from us. Loolilalu's warm welcome was accompanied by a Mad Max-inspired war rig, and interestingly, she also gave them the key to the gates, asking the crew not to let it fall into the wrong hands. If you're watching the episode for the first time, you might not really think much about this gesture, but after watching the video a few times, you come to realize how diabolical that decision is. We will get back to what that dreadful decision meant for the kingdom, but for now, we still have to talk about the circus crew meeting up with Gummigoo in the desert. As designed by the all-powerful god Caine, it didn't take long for them to come across Gummigoo and his team of rascals, and this starts our descent into everything dark in Candy Canyon. After an elaborate chase scene with lots of ridiculous clashes, Pomni and Gummigoo get glitched under the map, and we finally see the Candy Kingdom for what it truly is. Being the newest member of the Amazing Digital Circus, Pomni still seemed freaked out by the whole being trapped in a literal hellscape when Ragatha came to get her for the new adventure. She couldn't have imagined being glitched into a house of horrors with a stranger in just her second adventure, but that's exactly what happened.
You want to talk about it?
Fortunately for her, it wasn't that bad, but for Gummigoo, he was facing his worst nightmare. And it's no surprise he was losing his mind. Imagine coming face to face with lifelike clones that reveal you might not be a real person. We've all heard horror stories of people finding out their whole lives were a simulation, and it gets even worse for Gummigoo. He blurts out the words, "Where's Mom?"
Where's Mom?
You...
And as if that wasn't enough torture, he follows it up with, "I can't even remember her face."
I can't even remember her face. Did she ever have a face?
It dawns on him that his mom may not even be real, and it was all fake memories put in his head by an all-powerful god. This all traces back to the first scene we talked about, where Caine talks about the NPCs being 57 times more immersive. To get that level of immersion, Caine allowed Gummigoo to comprehend his role and true nature up to the point where it could drive him mad. He could have made it so all NPCs never think about things like their existence, but it won't be Caine if someone isn't suffering from pure agony. This makes the next line from Gummigoo so hard. "We are just obstacles, created to be defeated and forgotten." It's so dark you have to see the comedy in it, or you might abstract like Kaufmo. As Gummigoo tries to come to terms with his existence, our eyes get drawn to a replica of Fudge Monster even before Jax, and the others on top meet the creature. It's almost like Caine had always intended for them to fall into the ravine to come across the people-eating monster. This brings us back to the part where Princess Loolilalu hands over the keys to her people's safety to characters she knows nothing about. If the Amazing Digital Circus was a show about rainbows and butterflies, we wouldn't think too much about it. But being the screwed-up show that it is, we wonder if it was all a ploy to sacrifice her citizens to Caine. The circus crew hadn't spent up to a minute in the castle when she was all flustered talking about her all-powerful god who sent heroes to her aid. We might be making a leap here, but what if Loolilalu gave out the key knowing someone always keeps the castle gate open for their enemies to get through? That would make Candy Canyon home to a fanatic queen who sacrifices her people to retrieve their stolen resources. That's very dark for a show that tries its best to give us a good laugh, but if you thought that was all, you would be shocked about what we are going to uncover next. Before you try racking your brain about what shocking detail awaits you, we want you to know that Gummigoo is the only reason we find out about this detail, and it has to do with the whole NPCs mixing up with the humans. In Caine's words, if I can't tell who's a human and who's an NPC, who knows what could happen? This sentence is important because it lets us know that even an omnipotent AI like Caine could find it hard to distinguish between a human and a random NPC. It takes us back to what we know about the ringmaster. Even though he looks and sounds like a human, he knows little about the outside world and the human mind. With that in mind, the Amazing Digital Circus feels like an elaborate experiment where Caine gets to monitor humans closely to decipher what makes us tick. We have a crazy theory that Bubble is a human masquerading as an AI, but don't let Gooseworx hear that, or she might kill the character off. With the way we got a weird zoomed up image of his eyeballs when he started talking about mixing NPCs and humans, we wonder if anything catastrophic happened in the past. We get the feeling that the circus used to have lots of NPCs around, and Caine confused a human with one of the NPCs, and something really bad happened. We'd like to imagine he manhandled a human thinking they were an NPC, which led to them abstracting into a mindless monster. That would be a convenient explanation for the crowded cellar, but we don't want to go down that rabbit hole in this video. We addressed the possibility of Caine being a secret villain of the show in a previous video, so you might want to check that out if you're having a hard time believing that the ringmaster has evil intentions. Caine's expression when he talks about mixing things up shows that there are catastrophic consequences for getting things wrong, and even though we are curious to find out what happens when a mistake is made, we have a feeling it's not pretty to watch. This part might sound like a complete conspiracy theory, but if you give it a chance to simmer, you should understand why it's so brilliant. Only a psychotic AI like Caine could make it all possible. The second episode of the Amazing Digital Circus is so fascinating because it discusses the concept of what is real and what is not. Gummigoo considered himself a real person, but his world was shattered after coming face to face with his replacement. We don't need to tell you how mind-bending that is, but for the sake of your mental stability, we don't want you thinking about all of that. The final icing on the cake, that is the grim adventures in Candy Canyon, takes place right after Gummigoo walks through the portal to the circus. If Caine wanted it, he could make it impossible for NPCs from Candy Canyon to make it through the portal back home. But he didn't, and the Aussie hat-wearing croc skipped right through. His visit to the circus was so brief, we couldn't stop ourselves from laughing when Caine turned him into a pile of confetti. After putting the character through all the mind-bending torture, he doesn't even get to enjoy the safety of the circus. Even though erasing Gummigoo from existence took seconds, Pomni probably felt a year's worth of pain as she watched the character she spent time bonding with die before her eyes. We used to believe Caine's job was to keep the humans from going abstract, but he is doing such a terrible job, we have to wonder if he isn't secretly working to get more character in the cellar. Thank God for Ragatha because she steps in just in time to pull Pomni away for Kaufmo's burial, and it helps her calm down. If you ask us, the scariest thing we saw in the second episode was seeing Jax show some emotion for the first time in his life. Who knew that the rabbit had it in him to stop being a jerk for 1 minute? Unsurprisingly, it only lasts a few seconds, and Jax leaves the scene off to plot his new prank, and the thought that he might even be remorseful is bound to break the simulation, so we should all stick to what we know best. We will probably learn of more dark secrets in future episodes, but if you can't wait that long, we have other videos you might want to check out, so head over to our channel. If you really want to fortify your mind and be a true master of the circus. Like Kinger, you might want to follow our channel. Trust me, there is no way you can get out of the simulation alone.